something new, a better part of you. You feel it in your soul, a link from head to toe. I'll go just alone. I can't stop scratching my mind. I gotta keep asking why. Stop telling me all the time everything will be fine. I can't stop scratching my mind.
could you behave justly?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are coming back at you for another week of some exciting Overwatch action. I'm Insomnia.
I'm Kawari.
And we are bringing you USF Gold versus Western Kentucky University in, I believe, week 4 coming into it of our NACE UN10N conference.
What are we thinking for this game?
Very exciting things. There are lots of things that could be coming out now. We have 5 new characters now legal in play because NACE decided that they wanted to give the entire roster of new characters that Overwatch released right into gameplay. No 2-week balancing or waiting for bug fixes or anything. So there's potential for some silliness coming out tonight, especially with certain characters being a little bit stronger than others.
Jetpack Cat.
Jetpack Cat.
Look, okay. I know the balancing is a little bit difficult, but I think Jetpack Cat is such a funny design, and I think it's such a fun thing to add to the game.
It is a very entertaining design that the community has been asking for a very long time, ever since Brig was like, yo gang, Cat, in the one, I believe it's a highlight intro. Either a highlight intro or an in-game, I don't remember.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Ever since that existed, also whenever the lore released, whenever we saw that Brig had a cat, the community's been asking for the cat for ages, for years.
Yes.
And it's finally been granted to us in the form of the devilish kidnapper.
That's the way to put it.
With the ultimate ability, giving you the ability to grab a character and just fly away with them, leading to very entertaining plays for your immobile tanks that can't deny it straight off the map usually.
Yeah, I mean, at that, we should probably go into the other heroes who are added. We have 4 more. We have Domina, a new tank, a shield tank at that. Overwatch dev team is referring to her as the most recent poke tank since Sigma.
Which is a little bit interesting, because if I remember correctly, she has a similar range and primary fire, similar to Symmetra, but she doesn't have an actual projectile. She kind of fits, honestly, to me, it seems like to me at least, she kind of fits into the same niche as Ramatra does.
She does have a cooldown that can push out like a projectile and explode.
True. That is, I think that's E maybe, but
yeah.
That's somewhere like in between Ram and Sigma, probably.
Yeah.
But she's been showing pretty strong out of the Korean scrims lately. They've been holding those over the past week and a half. Our coach actually has been over there assisting with that.
Oh.
So we've had a little bit of cool insider information and just getting to see all of that. But going into the people that we're going to be playing these new characters tonight, we have the standard lineup of Asura, our tank players, Jacaranda and Source on DPS, and Rework and Shadow playing the backline. They are going to be the players that we're probably going to be focusing on the most tonight, as the support line is really what has changed the most with these new characters, bringing out Mizuki and Jetpack Cat into the support lineup, both showing out pretty strongly over in Korea right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Mizuki really quick. Very, very strong healing potential, I gotta say. But also a lot of strong damage. I mean, having that recall, that teleport, and the damage output can be very good. There's a little bit of a tick mechanism with it, kind of like an Ana dart. So very, very strong.
And then one of the big parts of that kit being the tether. Even more CC getting thrown into Overwatch. You have the ability to walk in, tether someone, and they can't move from a very short location. They're slowed like 90% or something. So you pretty much have a guaranteed, just if you hit a nice clean dive on it, just a guaranteed kill. And then with that tether giving you the ability to just hop straight out. Kind of similar to Kiriko. It's a little bit of a we feel a little bit of the power going into the kit that we felt with Kiriko releasing. Kiriko still being, as usual, a ridiculously strong character. Suzu is the best ability in the game. But Mizuki's ultimate kind of does a little bit similar. In kind of in a similar fashion to how Lucio beat just gives you a crap ton of survivability for a little bit. That Mizuki ult, just absorbing projectiles, pretty much just making you invulnerable in its radius. It's pretty solid, but it limits you to said radius. So I don't expect to see much of that really on, like, say, push maps. Push maps maybe second half hybrids, but depends on how it's played.
From my experience so far with the character, it's not the longest ult, but you're not bound to it either. So you're free to step out of it. So it's not the most limiting thing in the world, but it can be made pretty redundant as soon as the objective moves away from it. So push would be a really hard map to get some utility out of it.
It's pretty much a better form of Lifeweaver Tree.
Yeah, except it doesn't really like pulse out healing. It's just kind of that.
It's perpetual.
Yeah.
Which is one of the downsides of Lifeweaver Tree. So it's just a better Weaver Tree.
Yeah, bar's a little bit on the floor, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's true. You have arguably one of the worst, arguably the worst character in the game with some play. I don't remember what team it was managed to pull it out on OWCS like maybe 2 months ago, but they actually managed to win a game with it playing exclusively second with Lifeweaver. But going out of the support lineup, and we have the 2 new DPS players. We have DPS characters. We have Imri and Onron. Imri, a little bit not much of the punch that we were looking for. The DPS, the actual just raw numbers are down a little bit from where you would expect, but been seeing mixed reviews in Korea. Most DPS players trying to force him, but just not quite finding insane value on him. So I don't really expect to see a lot of Imri tonight. The ult's decent, but kind of just a little bit of a different version of Soldier and kind of falls from the same shortcomings as Soldier.
Yeah, I've heard that Emre's gunplay can be very fun if you're an Ashe main, if you're familiar with that sort of mechanic. But as far as the kit goes, it's pretty fairly balanced. And then the ultimate, it can be strong, but it's very situational. Onron, however, is kind of dominating some lobbies right now. She is very fun to play, mind you, but she's got a lot of offensive capability. She can really get in your face, set you on fire, do critical damage when you're on fire, and just immediately get out. She has invulnerability. She has a resurrection for an ultimate, which is also kind of cool. I'm not even gonna lie. It is really cool looking.
Yeah, the entire kit being based around the Phoenix looks really nice. It's very fluid to see. Most of the new characters are pretty fluid. The designs are really cool. It's a big difference from what we had from our original added characters of running it into. You have a hamster in a ball. You have the mutant monkey scientist. You have an American with a gun.
And you got a cat.
And you have now we have a cat.
Meow.
we have our third animal in the lineup. Third animal because you have Winston, Wrecking Ball, and now Jetpack Cat.
Yeah. I do think it's an interesting change-up. Jetpack Cat kind of reminds me of the dogs with the talk buttons because she's not like a sentient animal that speaks, but she does have little buttons, and when you sleep her, she button mashes. And I think that's so cute. There was a lot of detail and love put into the character design, so I do have to like give props to the team there. It's just the stuff's really cool. Absolutely.
All the characters are very well designed, very fluid, and just look pretty sick. But Onron, that character plus Vendetta.
Vendetta is haunting the meta right now. Vendetta is so strong.
Just being strong as usual. Ever since she released, just the character, you pretty much just a better version of Genji. So I don't think I've seen a single Genji get played in a very long time.
Yeah.
Since Vendetta released. But the combination of Vendetta and Onron is just kind of evil, not gonna lie. Like you could put in some work. That's a very high damage just dive instantly.
Yeah.
So it looks like gonna be running into our first map of Lijiang Tower. It is second only to Scrims Row in how frequently that map gets picked, but gonna be interesting. We've seen a whole lot of this in every recent month, every single season, constantly.
Kings Row, Lijiang Tower, never going to be out of the circulation. But as far as bans go for heroes, we have Lucio and Zarya banned in this game. Maybe potentially just some targeting of mains here, just trying to feel out what's going to go on. USF seems to be playing some of the new characters. We're going to see Shadow on that Mizuki really, really early. And the rest of the comp is going to stick with what's already been in the game. Source is going to be running that Symmetra to get out of spawn, so we might see a potential swap there. But Rework's going to be on Kiriko. Seems like we're already swapping over, so just don't even listen to me. We have that Domina from Asura and Hakaranda on that Sojourn. We have Shadow back onto Wuyang and Source going over to Tracer.
Looking like everybody's kind of just playing similar to comps. What we've seen, the only really difference is that we have Domina coming out of USF and Jetpack Cat coming out of West Kentucky. I expect them to be playing off to the side, trying to take advantage of that. But Vendetta already in there a lot, but the damage coming out of the Domina does a lot. But Shadow going to get dropped. Refragged by Rework, though. Kiriko with the headshot going to take him out, but even game currently.
That is a really big pick for Rework, taking out the Vendetta early. That is a lot of damage into the backline that can be done very, very fast. So getting out Vendetta as early as possible is always going to be the goal for the fights. Source almost falling off the map there, just narrowly escaping that. Gets taken out by Soul.
The only little bit of an interesting play there coming out of WKU. The cat almost died for it. This D.Va off the map with the boop. The Domina just putting in absolute work right now, and USF doing a very solid job of cleaning this up, and the cat going to escape away with the boosters. Such a fast piece of mobility. But
yeah.
USF just playing these rotates pretty solidly so far.
Yeah, Domina's boop, we didn't really fully touch on that. It can be a very, very strong boop, but it definitely is all in the positioning.
Especially with D.Va using those boosters out early, going to give them plenty of space immediately, but someone already forcing the point. Don't really have a vision of a tank over there, yeah. So Domina just going to be walking and trying to take out the vulnerable Juno as a little bit of an interesting comp choice out of Western Kentucky. Jetpack Cat Juno is a decently weak comp, but there's going to be the Domina ult. First Domina ult of this match, going to be eaten immediately. Gonna get a kill onto the Vendetta, though, and still didn't maintain control of the point, actually, just playing for retake here.
Jetpack Cat ult coming out there, only stuns. Oh no, it does pick up Shadow, takes him off the map. Source gets the pick onto Bakura.
And that is going to be the point flip over to USF to even up the score. The Jetpack Cat ult just bullying Shadow once again.
Oh, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It is a really funny ult. I can't even lie. I know a lot of people do not like it, but I think it's so silly.
Oh, it is so entertaining to watch. But the Farah out of Western Kentucky putting in a lot of work, but not really the work that they're needing. I say that as they get a kill on the Hakaranda. That was their primary damage coming out of the Kitsune, but not gonna find much as D.Va's gonna be able to remech here. Asura trying to do anything in his power to stop it, but Domina not quite going to be able to walk out. Maybe walk out of this live. I spoke Kiriko.
The humble Kiriko.
Not quite gonna walk out of it in time, as we also have the Mizuki ult coming out just to try to stay alive, but the point is getting flipped now, so Source going to have to touch and try to get by as much time as possible before a team to get back, and there's the flip, and USF just need to back out.
USF gonna try and play for a little bit more damage here, try to hold this corner, but they're overall not gonna be able to take sight just yet, waiting for the team to regroup. Shadow gets taken out once again.
There, we saw the tether coming out of Shadow, just put a little bit too far forward, not quite able to TP out as far as he needed to live, and now USF on the back foot, down both supports, just gonna have to walk away. Asura just going to die to respawn faster, but so far, not really seeing much. Not really going to see the utilization of Mizuki's kit as we would like to, as Western Kentucky are just putting in everything to kill them. And speaking of everything, they have
4 ults online. This is going to get insane very quickly. That Vendetta ult is very, very strong. And then the 2 support ults, that's going to keep them alive. At least the Juno Beam will, for sure, Orbital. Jetpack Cat will just potentially terrorize Shadow again.
Oh yeah, just gonna kidnap the Mizuki. Here's gonna be the Ray playing aggressive into USF's push, but Shadow finds the kill on Vendetta. That's the primary damage for Western Kentucky, and the Farah gonna get taken out by the Source as well in the Ray. Gonna throw out the Domina ult just to catch the D.Va and keep her in the corner, demech'd, and that's just a clean flip for USF.
USF taking this flip in confidence here, just gonna go for it and take what they want, which is the point.
Just gonna get the point there. 97% on the side of Western Kentucky, but only utilizing one ultimate, the Ray, the only thing coming out, baiting out the Domina. The only Domina ult, because South Florida is a little bit down on the ult rotation. They're going to have to get this Kitsune online fast if they want to be able to stall and hopefully build the Mizuki ult to win this final fight. So that's going to be ideally either a win condition or just a big pulse out of Source. There's going to be the tap coming out of the D.Va to proc overtime and the fight about to start.
Yeah, Western Kentucky is going to push in here, probably going to try and get some of these ults down. Here goes the Jetpack Cat ult, kidnaps Asura, but he gets out of it.
There's going to be the tether we were talking about coming out of the Mizuki to stop the Jetpack Cat ult, but the Pharah ult in return finding rework, and now it is all up to Shadow to keep his team alive, and there he goes! South Florida, no backline, everyone's so low in the Domino, just trying to live, but it's Vendetta in the face, and that's going to most likely be the flip for USF, but Jacaranda Source finds two, gonna get taken out by the D.Va, and now it is just the Tracer versus the D.Va on the point. Tracer still has recall, can maybe live, but Jetpack Cat is back, and it's all up to Source to just stall for team to get back, and there's the flip to Western Kentucky. 1% and no one's gonna touch.
Going to be a little bit of an unfortunate timing for USF, flipping to try and get there just in time, changing some of these comps around, but they're not gonna get to the point in time, just trying to change it up.
Little bit of a communication error coming out there at the end. Source had touch, had the Kitsune coming back. They had the stall enough time for their tank to get back. Granted, UKY also, not UKY, Western Kentucky, also would have been there and ready to regroup, but at least could have extended the fight with one more touch. Now, coming into the second point, South Florida going to be opting to swap over to the Jetpack Cat as well. Seems like we're just going to be seeing this character all the time.
Yeah, very, very strong kit for what it is worth. Other than just the grab, being able to taxi your team in is here. We can see it right there as Shadow brings in Astra straight to point. Domina's already on this point, just completely. And that's kind of the perk of Jetpack Cat. Just a lot of mobility. Not as like unified as like Lucio speed boost might be, but it does greatly benefit at least one person.
There's going to be Jacaranda walking out on the Cassidy, putting in some work with 3 with the cleanup from Source. But what West Kentucky are going to find 2 in return, and Domino walking away with 2 HP. How is he alive? How is he still alive? He might die to the baby D, but not quite. Going to take a Pharah shot, though, and the point going to get opened up here by Source.
Source going to take this point really quick. Lots of things to discuss here with this composition. Western Kentucky sticking with that D.Va into Domino. What do we think about that?
I think it's a little bit iffy for the D.Va. The Vendetta gonna die there with, I believe, both supports online. I'm impressed that they managed to get that kill. Maybe a little bit of a misstep coming out of the Vendetta, but D.Va with no boosters there, not quite early in the range, but Source gonna get taken out by the Pharah poke, and now USF just kind of have to chill. And I see what people were talking about when they said just gonna jetpack cat the Vendetta straight into point.
Oh, so fascinating to watch. It is such a funny visual as well, just watching someone get dragged along by a cat. A lot of picks going on point here.
I'm starting to see the power of Domina, that poke that we were talking about. The range on that primary fire is a lot longer than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
So way longer than Symmetra. So that is where that poke comes in. Just all kinds of work. And the boop and everything, but Source gonna get taken out by Jetpack Cat, getting a little bit greedy there. Thankfully, respawn fast, can boop all the way back in pretty quickly, but the Vendetta Jetpack Cat just gonna be running it in. A Shadow getting prepped to potentially cat. Yes, the Sky Noon. We've been waiting for it. Gonna find Spicy Front on the Pharah. It's Sky Noon somewhere in the world. We've seen the memes where you used to have the tech with Lifeweaver, but clean, very clean fight out of USF. Just gonna clean that up super fast.
Extremely clean, pretty much team wipe from USF Gold here. Yeah, USF is coming up on 2 ults here. The Jetpack Cat ult gonna be a bit of a disruption for WKU, and the Kiriko ultimate is gonna be pretty strong for some offense damage there.
Going to be very solid for USF being able to use that, especially with Domina in that ult. It's very powerful. But what we were talking about earlier, the Lifeweaver tech, getting that Sky Noon going, but I don't even get the chance to talk. Pharah already going to be dropped, but Shadow taken out in return. The Jetpack Cat ult was tried to utilize, but just going to get disintegrated. And Jacaranda dropping 2 as well. Juno and the Vendetta taken out, and D.Va out of mech, just going to get taken out again. Jacaranda hitting all the headshots tonight, securing the 2nd point for USF.
Clean shots coming out from Jacaranda. Just very clean plays from everyone on the side of USF. WKU as well, doing pretty well in that first round, but round 2 is going to go to USF, bringing us to round 3 here on Lijiang.
I think USF were just a little bit happier with this more centralized point, not having to play kind of that main courtyard and then wrapping over onto the point, because they didn't really want to play on the point that first time. They were playing off the side and trying. I don't really know what the aim was there, but it wasn't quite working.
Yeah, not too sure what the goals were here, but seems like we're going to see some switch ups here from WKU. They're going to swap over to that Domina. They're going to have that Sojourn online, and they're going to go for the Kiriko as well.
They are just gonna opt to swap over to the new broken tank. It sucks whenever it gets to that kind of point where it's like you play it or you lose. So you have to become a big boop. Gonna do a lot of damage to the wall there. A little bit of a note there: if the boop hits someone into a wall, it is a stun as well. So in the close quarters of this point, it's gonna be very beneficial for the Dominos to be trying to hit those boops.
Yeah, Domino's boop can be very, very strong, especially adding in that factor of stun going on. A lot of kills going out here from USF Gold.
Really good collapse there by USF onto the enemy Domino, who played a little bit aggressive, walked forward without quite the cleanup that they needed. Source not quite going to get the kill up onto that Kiriko. Very close, 1 HP, but not quite going to finish it up. And what we saw there coming out of Shadow, trying to hit the jetpack cat in the air is just so miserable.
Yeah, Jetpack Cat is a very hard target to hit. WKU is going to switch off that Jetpack Cat, go over to the Mizuki. Kind of an interesting play, but I guess they're not seeing that utility out of Jetpack Cat's, taxi service.
Jetpack Cat's taxi service. That sounds like the name of an anime.
That would be so cute.
That would be very adorable. But
yes.
Ultimate's coming online for South Florida. Don't want big pulse, just Kobe Ryan straight in there. Not going to catch anybody though. Maybe a little bit quick on the draw. Could have maybe saved it for the corner, but that's Vendetta's kit to use to force out the thing. There's going to be Domina ult coming out, trying to catch the Mizuki. Not quite, but the enemy Domina going to be low already, and USF just tearing Western Kentucky apart in this wall as everyone falls.
Ostro doing an insane amount of damage there. Didn't quite claim any of those kills for himself, but just insane support going out on the tank there.
USF just running it and collapsing. Shadow going to get taken out, trying to flay into the movement a little bit, but not quite going to walk away. But USF still taking the point, and the cat, with the speed boost, can get back very fast. Already back on the point, set up, ready to help his team.
Yeah. Also, the cat has ult online, so once again, that disruption of being yanked off the map is very well and present. A threat for WKU. Kitsune getting popped here. USF is going to keep playing on this aggressive choke here all the way close to spawn for WKU. They're in a really awkward spot, but WKU has 3 ults online here.
We once again have a Sky Dude going insane, and we're going to kidnap the Domino straight off the map. USF just throwing all kinds of ultimates in here just to continue to secure this fight and take away any momentum that Western Kentucky might be able to pull out of here. Swapping over to the Tracer just to try to touch the final point. Vendetta playing a little bit aggressive to try to proc overtime, but just going to get disintegrated. Actually going to get the touch. That's what Western Kentucky wanted, but Shadow going to get dropped again, playing a little bit aggressive. The Domino ult onto the Tracer?
Interesting.
Little bit questionable, but that's going to be an entire kit dropped out of Kiriko. Going to get taken out. Domina as well, and just a clean finish for USF, bringing back Li Zhong after down a round to win first map.
A great take from USF Gold there, playing with all of the new stuff, experimenting around with the team comp, really exciting stuff, and it's great to see the synergy keep up even with these new additions to the game.
Starting out a little bit rough on the Mizuki, not quite finding the value that he wanted, but the Domina putting in work, dominating, one could say, absolutely running those lobbies, and even when Kentucky decided to pull it out in return to try to match that prowess, just not quite going to find it. USF playing it very well.
Absolutely. Great plays coming out from the tanks and just the support as well. So much new in the game. Excited to see what comes up next, but we're going to go to a short break real quick.
Welcome back, everybody. Taking it into Watch Point Gibraltar, and in standard Gibraltar fashion, we are going to see a Winston composition coming out of West Kentucky.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty standard for this map. I feel like Winston does have a pretty strong dive potential here. Just a lot of offensive capability.
The usual, you can play off of any of those angles that your DPS make, but with the Vendetta Tracer, you're going to be looking to engage with your Vendetta. Actually, they're on defense, never mind. They're going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how they're going to be playing into USF's Domina comp here with Jacaranda over on the cast. That he put in some solid work in second point of last point, but the Sim TV and the Cat Escort throwing the cast all the way to the far angle, but the Ana on the side of West Kentucky going to be putting in a decent amount of work with those antis to stall out this Domina comp.
Yeah, once again, Cat Taxi is going to come in clutch here, but USF does have some interesting potential here, sticking pretty close to what was played last game and what worked last game.
Very comfortable on the composition, already putting a ton of damage onto the Winston, but he's going to have to use jump to disengage, and it looks like West Kentucky going to be falling for the ancient trap of sitting on the high ground. And that's just going to be Winston, I think, stunned by like 2 different things, thrown into the wall and just killed. Brig just going to get stuck in the forward and dropped by everyone, and West Kentucky just dismantled by USF.
What a great fight from USF. Using that Domina boop to its massive capability, that stun. I don't know if you saw it, but Vendetta got booped into the wall and then instantly stunned. That really takes out a lot of Vendetta's potential because she's so strong and so tanky for a DPS.
Also, just the micro for USF, they're kind of keeping West Kentucky on the high ground. The high ground on this map is a trap. If you just sit on that high ground, you're going to get a nice kill onto West Kentucky's Wu Yang, giving them an early advantage. And Source trying to take out the Ana, but not quite going to find it. The Winston gets dropped in return, though, as the support lineup is not quite there. And Jacaranda finding the Ana as well. USF's DPS just putting in insane amounts of work right now to give them as much of a lead as possible. Jacaranda with another headshot kill.
Beautiful work from Jacaranda. Just amazing plays tonight, especially more than usual. There is a little bit of a map change here. Just feel like I need to address the plane here on top. It's a little bit more different of a hold, no longer peeking over to the other side of this point.
No longer as oppressive as it used to be, but with the Jetpack Cat throwing the Domina in the cast up there, there's just going to be nothing that this Winston comp can do to try to play into that, as the poke is just ridiculous. Rework finding a kill onto the Ana, just gonna put Kentucky down super early, especially since Ana is kind of a main core of that Winston comp.
USF has 4 ults online here, 2 of them just coming up from the supports, but so many strong ults coming online here. Shadow's gonna try and play it safe and build up this ult, potentially disrupting a bit of West Kentucky's plays.
That's going to be Oscar with a kill onto the enemy Winston. Source finding the Wu Yang as well, giving USF everything they need to just walk into capping the point with only Kitsune and Pulse Bomb invested. But Pulse Bomb effectively counts as just a separate ability. It charges so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Source can really charge that ult up within like a few seconds if really challenged to. So not too much of an ult loss there. USF still has 3 very, very strong ults online and ready to go. Jacaranda just kind of hanging out with the Cat Taxi here.
Oh, this is about to be evil. Seeing another Sky Noon. If West Kentucky's on a slow lettuce hits the sleep on this, he's actually like Fielder. He is Himothy if he manages to hit it, but just gonna keep his life alive. Jacaranda finding 2, the Domina and the cast being dropped. Finds a 3rd onto the Wu Yang, and the Ana taken out by Shadow on the Cat, and just the Tracer remaining to try to halt USF's push.
Tracer is going to back up, probably gonna consider switching here, but maybe just waiting for the team.
USF going to be looking to use this Cat ult really early to kidnap the enemy Domino straight off the map, and there it is right off the map. Shadow's life doesn't matter as long as the tank dies. And there's going to be the Wu Yang ult turning Ana into a tank, trying to boop Osra maybe off the map as he played a little bit testy there, but just going to get dropped, and that should be the cap for USF.
Very, very strong round coming out from USF here, getting all 3 points with a 4 minutes 30 to spare. So that's a very big bonus for them if they end up going to that 3rd round of this.
That is a ton of time online for USF, especially on Gibraltar. It used to be a very, like, granted, if you lose first point early, that kind of sucks, but you used to be able to get held really hard on second point, but I think with the map reworks, not really giving them as evil of an angle off the spaceship up top to look down onto it should make second point a little bit less defense-sided, but anything is still possible. USF playing this very solidly, very happy so far on Gibraltar.
Yeah, it's really been great plays so far watching this whole stream go on. We're going to see a little bit of a change up from USF Gold's support. We're going to have that cat go away in trade for Mizuki really quick. West Kentucky is going to switch out their tank for Reinhardt.
Reinhardt.
Very interesting pick.
Interesting pick. I'm interested to see how that's going to work into the Domina. Just the insane amounts of damage that you can pull from that character into the Rhine Shield. That's going to hurt, but I actually think that I think it's live. I think it came out last patch. Reinhardt has a new major perk where he regens health with shield open. So that'll keep him alive a little bit easier. Actually going to be hopping over to the hog. Maybe see a sim TP. Yep, the sim TP hog looking for the hook that USF likes to do pretty frequently on Gibraltar. I'm impressed we didn't see that first point. I think they finally talked Osra into not doing it. So West Kentucky going to be trying it, not quite going to find it, and just going to walk back out and swap.
Yeah, going for that swap early, but Cora switching back over to that Reinhardt, maybe back over to Domina. A little bit of consideration going on. Seems like Domina is the go-to, though.
Domina still just incredibly strong. The range on the tank is ridiculous. The left clip pretty far, and there's going to be a headshot cleaned up by Source. Jacaranda taking the cat out as well, as West Kentucky just try to contest the high ground, but not going to find any purchase as USF just disintegrates them.
USF's damage really playing it up tonight, really putting their best foot forward, showing us some really great stuff. Just some great kills coming out super early into this fight, stalling out the point, has hardly moved forward here with the payload.
A little bit of poke there, forcing the Suzu out of Kentucky. Going to be a big piece of utility dropped on that side. USF very happy about that. Just so far able to hold the point down on this corner, and Kentucky trying to walk in, play off the high ground, and going to find a kill on a source, so that's going to be huge. The primary contest on the point. USF going to have to drop and not fall into the trap of sitting on high ground.
USF is going to have to reposition a little bit here. Domina going up the stairs, gets booped off potentially, but Jetpack Cat saves them from getting booped.
Going to get killed in return, though, for it, trading your life for the tank, but that means that it doesn't... that Kentucky don't really have a push, but the Tracer was backcapping. I don't know why they blinked away from that. Maybe USF sent a player down there to match, but I didn't see it on cam, so I think that Kentucky, maybe a little bit of misplay, a little bit of miscommunication there. Not quite going to get the backcap.
Yeah, might have been trying to regroup with the tank up there, trying to get a little bit more attention onto the high ground, but could have just stuck with that back cap. Tracer ult's going to come out there, going to do a little bit of damage, but Source gets taken out by Soul.
Source gambling with the setup there. Not the greatest position ever, but USF falling into the trap of just kind of sitting on high ground, but the Domina ult probably going to come in absolutely clutch here if they can catch one of these squishies, especially with Kentucky's Domina playing farther forward. The squishy's going to have to walk through the open to get there, but that's the cat taken out by Jacaranda, putting in absolute work, and the opposing Domina going to get dropped as well as everyone falls on the side of Kentucky.
USF does invest 2 ults into that fight there, but it seems to work out in their favor, getting 3 in turn.
So far, the showing out of Domina, this character is ridiculous. What am I even watching? Like, the damage is insane, the survivability is insane, and USF capitalizing on it.
I'm sure over time we will see some balancing, some changes go on, but at the current moment, Domina is very strong. She is dominating. It is in the name. Can't spell dominate without Domina. So, I mean, good for her, but we'll have to see how she evolves over time to mesh in with Overwatch's gameplay a little bit more smoothly.
And what's even crazier is that prior to this patch, she was substantially more oppressive. There's going to be the cat ult coming out of West Kentucky. Who did they kidnap? Just going to kidnap Rework, throw him straight into the middle of the team, but he's going to walk away alive. The Suzu keeping him alive, Kiriko doing Kiriko things, but Source going to get taken out by Spicy Fries. Another little bit of a Tracer gap there coming out, but USF putting in the work that they need to, keeping their team alive. Osra walking away almost full HP with the power of Mizuki, and the Domina playing a little bit aggressive, a little bit far forward, and USF, here's the fight that they want, keeping the enemy tank in the wall, and there they are, 40 seconds on the clock, and that's just going to be probably 15, 20 more burned for Kentucky.
USF doing a great job stalling at this choke right here, taking advantage of both the high and the low ground here, just really playing up to their strength.
Playing super well on this front to back, rotating between the height and the low that they need to, not falling into the high ground trap that this map is so well known for. Kentucky have the Kitsune, have the castle online. Probably going to see a Sky Noon coming out of them. The same thing that USF have put in some work on doing, but there's going to get Source, going to get back at Spicy Fries, finds the Tracer kill, and there's the Sky Noon. A little bit of a misplay. Not on a good angle, not going to find anyone.
Yeah, that stun coming out from Cass, that hinder, does kind of limit their play capability as well. Gonna be a lot of Kitsunes coming out trying to get past this chokehold, but it's not gonna turn out very well for West Kentucky. Going into overtime here, just trying to stall it out.
Just the Tracer trying to touch a point, and that is going to be Gibraltar going to USF with a beautifully played final fight. The Domina kit absolutely putting in work and just dismantling West Kentucky's offense.
Absolutely great plays coming out from Asura, as well as the damage for USF Gold. Just some really strong showcasing here tonight.
Very good plays all around the Kiriko. Both of the Kitsunes matching each other pretty well, but what I want to highlight was the boop that Asura hit on the opposing Domina. Both shields are sitting there pretty much looking directly at each other in the Kitsunes. Asura walking in, booping the opposing Domina through their own shield into LOS of his team. Still in the Kitsune, by the way. And I believe that Kentucky's Kitsune was actually on an off angle, so he wasn't in their own. And just getting disintegrated for it.
Just really great plays, really great timing of the utility throughout this whole match and the previous rounds as well. So really excited to see what happens going into Game 3 here, but we're going to go to a little break.
And we are back into an incredibly mid-map. I do not like this map, Midtown.
You have so many opinions about maps. You have so many opinions about maps across many games.
Whenever you play enough of the game and just get abused enough on certain maps, you don't get really happy with it. USF completely changing up the comp. Going to be swapping over to a Lari on a comfort pick for the USF backline. Osra on the Winston? Who let him on this character?
Who's letting him cook right now? But we'll have to see how that goes.
A little bit of experimenting here as Osra does not really play Winston, but Kentucky, a little bit stronger, very strong just bunker comp. They're going to sit here and just poke out the Winston. The Domina, the Bastion, the Baptiste can just sit and just do so much damage. But the good dive onto the Baptiste is going to force out his CDs. There's Lamp, not quite going to get the kill. Bastion just going to disintegrate him. And that is a little bit of the weakness of the Monkey. But Domina going to get traded out in return. Jacaranda on Ron, just going to get the kill, and then Emery as well coming out of Source. There's going to be the damage, and there's going to be an early, potentially should be a cap very shortly here for USF, but actually no, most of the team is down. Sitting on this back angle, just going to let Source die.
Yeah, Source did get some really good picks though. Let's talk about Emery really quick. Bit of a change up for USF. There is two bans that kind of pretty much take out a lot of USF's play capacity. Kiriko and Tracer are banned on this round, so that's two of USF's mains. So kind of a bit of a switch up here. We're going to see Source on that Emre. We're going to see Iari from Shadow, Ana from Rework, Domina from Asura, and Hanran from Jacaranda.
Pulling out both new DPS characters, putting in some work already, and USF just going to get an early pick there onto the Lamp. Going to be a strong piece of utility taken out as USF just holding early on this corner, trying to walk it around. This is going to be the hard part of the second point, is getting around this high ground, but Nano already coming out, and Domina just disintegrated by USF, taking this high ground. They have Jacaranda on already up in there, and Ana putting some good damage, utilizing that character kit, and the cat also going to get taken out by Jacaranda, just being able to run it down straight in there and get so much damage and so many kills.
USF playing extremely offensive here. A lot of attacks going on, and it's working out so well. Source already popping out with that Emre ultimate. Can do a lot of damage, but he did get taken out pretty quickly from that. However, it did create the space that his team needed to push up.
Did a lot of work there, and even Ultimate Bank coming out of both sides. Bastion ult going to get instigated early, trying to find a pick. A Lari ult dropping, probably one of the weaker ones on the side of USF, but whenever you combine it with the Honor ult, it does so much work, and that's going to be Kentucky burnt to a crisp, and never mind, Jacaranda into the sun, but USF going to clean it up and cap this second point.
What an insane team kill coming out. What a beautiful combination of ultimates coming out from Shadow and Jacaranda. Just insane synergy. Even with all of the new stuff being added, they're still so dialed in.
They just hit the wonderful power of Taste the Sun. The full power of fire just igniting Kentucky, burning it to the ground, and we're going to have Jetpack Cat coming out of Kentucky. Now the ult going to kidnap Jacaranda, bringing him straight into the team and just disintegrated. But USF still pretty happy with this. They have a little bit of forward momentum. The cart is still walking, and they're not feeling pretty... they might feel a little bit bad about that death, though. Source going to get taken out. USF going to have to back away and regroup for next.
Jacaranda getting kidnapped by the cat might have been the revenge for the bacon simulator. USF going to play up here into this choke, trying to do what they can. Bit of a mirror matchup going on.
Just kind of holding really close on this card, trying to find any opening. Anti not going to connect. There's a Domino ult. Going to put in so much work. Hits so hard, but not going to find anything. Kentucky not playing very aggressive into it, not capitalizing as they should have, and USF managed to walk away in a pretty good position, especially with Domino ult online, looking to catch potentially the enemy Domino. There it is, going to get blocked by the shield, though. Walks away at 1 HP with the anti from Rework, putting in some work.
USF still pretty close on at least 2 ults, though. Rework almost with that, wow. Words. I'm blinking. Oh, why am I blinking?
Rework almost managing to find the kill there with the anti, but USF not quite going to come out on top for that with the Nano. 6% off the ultimate ability. Source going to find an early kill onto the Vendetta. That's going to be big. Jacaranda swapping over to the cast. Double hit scan on the side of USF, just trying to match the damage of this Bastion on the side of Kentucky.
Double hit scan is really interesting, but could work out pretty well for USF, especially on this last point, possibly trying to counter out that Vendetta, because as soon as she ults, she will be up in the air, so wanting to get her out of play as soon as possible is probably the move. It is a very strong ult. On a Nano coming out, nanoing Source who popped ult as well.
All kinds of ultimates coming out with Kentucky investing Brig ult mate just for funsies, maybe? That was kind of an incredibly lost fight off rip, but little bit of an even trade. Kentucky only trading one for two, but South Florida with the Alario coming out. Jacaranda finds two, manages to get the tank as well while they're still in spawn. That's going to be insane time for USF as their team just reaches. Source finds the Brig as well, and that's just going to be map for US. No, there's a ball on the point, and who can get it away versus the cat, kidnapping somebody. All kinds of chaos on the point. Who can finish up the kill on the Wrecking Ball first? But he gets off the point, and that is going to be a quick cap for USF.
What insane plays coming out from USF. Full sending this payload all the way through here, getting all the way up to the third point with 2 minutes 30 remaining on the clock.
2:30 is a pretty good cap time for USF. Kentucky over on the offense now. That's going to be a little bit difficult to play into this disciplined defense that USF has shown on these previous rounds.
Yeah, USF has been very, very disciplined in how they've been playing tonight. They've also been very, very good at their timing, at playing with their comp together, doing a lot of in-sync movement here, playing on the offense when they all want to play on offense, no second guessing, no backing up, no looking at each other like, what are we doing right now? They're so in sync tonight, and it's really refreshing to see, especially with the DPS.
And speaking of the DPS, Source going to be walking out on Widowmaker, looking to potentially try to find an early pick on one of the squishies for Western Kentucky. Might actually be a little bit easy with Zarya being the main front line for Kentucky. Doesn't really have a lot to block there.
Yeah, really interesting. USF also playing into the best of both worlds here, running that Lucio, gonna try and get really close, really fast, just gonna try and get that movement up as soon as possible.
And the Lucio is going to be pretty key in dealing with the Zarya, as the Zarya wants to kind of hang out in the beginning of the fight, just build charge, and then initiate onto somebody. Kentucky also going to be swapping over to the Lucio just to try to give a little bit more ability to the Zarya. But there's already half of Zarya's health bar gone with the Widowmaker shot. And now, South Florida just holding forward.
Yeah, Widow holding a great angle here. New skin coming out, Kuromi Widowmaker, very cute. But USF in a great position here to keep doing this damage, to keep West Kentucky back.
Just going to be holding this corner, but Jacaranda walks away at 3 HP, manages to stay alive. USF's backline keeping him up, and by Shadow going to get taken out by the Bastion pretty early. That's going to feel really bad for USF. You need that speed to catch any rotations, but the Vendetta going to get traded out. Osra dies as well, but found one. Jacaranda found one as well. Let's see, can he get a second? That is going to be it, and now it is just the Bastion and the Zarya, but there's nothing you can do into a bubbled turret, and now it's just going to be up to Shadow to try to walk away, try maybe get the tank back in time to touch the point, but it is ticking down. Does have a touch, though, with Source sitting on the back line as Widowmaker.
Yeah, Source on that Widowmaker all the way in the back, trying to do a little bit of distracting here. In a really tough spot, is going to get knocked out by Soul.
But does manage to serve as a distraction. USF walking back the Bastion already low, trying to build the Domina ult, 70% off, but are they going to touch it as the timer ticks down? And they are not going to touch. Kentucky capping the point.
Kentucky also in good shape to continue on this push. Astra with that ultimate ready. Jacaranda getting the pick. Rework in a weird position here. Jacaranda very low. Source getting the pick onto reverse.
Just all kinds of kills coming out for USF. They're feeling pretty solid about this, holding very strongly off rip at the beginning of the second point, and we're going into a pause. I didn't see a call for tech. I didn't see any players disconnecting either, so I don't really know what this pause is over. Oh, we are hearing that we do have, we are hearing, unlike some of the players in the lobby, that there are some tech issues right now, audio going out for someone. So just going to be taking a little bit of a tech pause to go and resolve that. But in the meantime, very strong showing coming out of USF already, though kind of got rolled a little bit on the first point, playing a little bit out of position, but that's just Hybrid.
Yeah, for sure. Hybrid can be very, very tough for certain compositions, but I think USF might want to consider going back to what was working for them. A little bit of a switch up on their composition for this round 2, and I'm not too sure how well it's working out for them, but it seems like the game is unpaused, so we're going to go back in here.
Running it back in, I think what we were just talking about in where the changes need to get made, I think that the Widowmaker is a little bit of an interesting pick. So far hasn't found any of those one-taps that you would be looking for. A good amount of damage onto the Zarya, but that doesn't really change much. That's going to be the Domino ult coming out, putting in some work, good damage, but not quite going to find the kills. There's not a lot of DPS follow-up. Jacaranda wasn't in the position. I say that as the Bastion gets disintegrated by Jacaranda and a nice Widow shot there, but USF just going to be pushing Kentucky back, trying to find any pick there. The Lucio thrown into the wall. Vendetta dropped as well, and that's just going to be a cleanup for USF.
Lucio getting a little bit of a taste of his own medicine with that boop there. Domina just trying to get as much damage as possible, trying to take advantage of those stuns, booping into walls here. Jacaranda does res himself using that ultimate. Soul gets the pick.
The Zarya ult zoning, but Asura's in spawn finds so much. Not quite going to clean up the Vendetta, but the rest of his team putting in the work to do so. But Shadow getting caught out a little by the Vendetta. Vendetta chasing him down. Can he walk away? The sword going to keep him alive. Drops the beat solo on himself to 1v1 the Vendetta and gets the kill. Maybe a little bit greedy, but manages to walk away.
I can't even diss though, honestly, because Vendetta's in such a strong spot that taking her out might honestly be kind of worth the ultimate. Not the Lucio ultimate, but an ultimate somewhere.
We have differing opinions, but there's going to be the Domina ult dropping the Lucio for Kentucky, but he's just going to get chunked and return so much damage drops, but the opposing Zarya as well, but the bubble is going to come in clutch. Jacaranda engaging. Source finds a kill onto the Zarya, and it's pretty much anybody's game except that Vendetta exists, and manages to clean it up for Kentucky, keeping them in this offense.
Source trying to hold this angle here, trying to push them off, gets a little bit of a hit onto the Lucio. Vendetta's going to chase down here.
Jess going to be walking away, dropping the Widowmaker ult to Aura farm. It's a zoning ultimate, guys. Trust.
Surely.
Just playing into everyone. Not going to get ran over. Asura is full sending it in by himself. Has no heals and just going to get disintegrated. Little bit of a misplay, but Jacaranda running and doing so much damage with the fire. Going to escape with the mobility of Onron. Absolutely insane. And Source behind them on the Widowmaker. But here's me Jacaranda playing into the Bastion in the turret form, but just going to get disintegrated as the card is still walking forward.
Yeah, good plays from Jacaranda there, good repositioning, but they're going to have to get some more defense onto this cart here because they're getting close to that second point.
Source not really finding any headshots so far, but just the poke damage, putting it work. Jacaranda going to find a kill onto the Lucio, following up on that damage from Source. Also going to find the kill onto the Baptiste, giving USF all the room they need to work and clean up the rest of this fight. They don't want to lose any more kills, and there goes the Zarya to more to more right-click magic coming out of Source.
Shadow is taken out by the Bastion, though. Not too sure where exactly Shadow is playing there. Probably pretty far up, as we've seen. He does like to creep around the spawn doors. So probably a little bit ways in there, but he's going to be regrouping pretty quickly. You know, that Lucio movement is going to come in clutch. 2 ults online for South Florida. We've got the Baptiste window. We've got the Onron Resurrect or Explosion, however she wishes to use that.
Source finding a really good kill onto the Baptiste. Gets traded out by the Bastion in return, but that is a good trade in our books. But the beat going to come out, save the Zarya just in time, and USF just going to be getting ran over. Critical HP, the Vendetta 1 HP. Bastion stuck by himself on the high ground. Can USF find a kill? They do find it, but the Vendetta in their backline going to find it. 1 HP. Domina ult potentially going to get invested here. Jacaranda running in fun. Not quite finding the kill. The Lucio healing, keeping it alive. Cleans it up. Trying to get the Lucio as well. So much movement. Grab invested to try to find the Domina. Going to drop every piece of kit in the Zarya. The Zarya going to get dropped. USF managed to hold this point. 1 minute on the clock.
USF did invest a little bit into that fight. Not too bad, though. 3 ults online here still. So not looking too bad for this last minute of gameplay.
Very good fight coming out. Solid mines dropping just to get a little bit of more chip damage. Get some more ult. I say ult charge online as if Visor is going to do much for you on Widow. But USF have a very solid rotation. Both support ultimates. And there's going to be one already throwing the Baptiste wall in, but there's going to be beat also invested. The Zarya taken as a trade for Source. Going to be so worth it on the side of USF. Vendetta dropped as well. 30 seconds on the clock, and Kentucky's tank and primary backline are both dead. Only going to have maybe 10 seconds on the clock if they can even touch the point.
USF going to play very, very aggressive here. Going to try and spawn hold West Kentucky. Just trying to make sure that they don't touch this point, even consider going into overtime because they're so close to that next tick.
There's going to be Osprey just sitting in the spawn trying to deny anything. If Jacaranda was here to clean up with the ult, it would do so much work. But Osprey going to die, just buying time. 4 seconds on the clock, but the Wrecking Ball going to get the touch with 2 seconds remaining. And now USF have to try to kill a Wrecking Ball without their tank.
Honoron does have the potential to do a little bit of damage here, really tick down Ball's health. So it's not a completely lost cause.
There it is, so much damage coming out, but the lamp going to keep them in this back to full HP Kentucky, trying to come in and cap the second point. The Baptiste wall putting in so much work, but the Domina ult coming online 5 meters down. He gets the touch, just gonna be stalling on the point, trying to build ultimate to chunk as much as he can, but the Bastion gonna do so much damage. His support should be coming back online. Lucio back on the point, gonna get found out. Domina ult dropping catches too, but Bastion in the ult beat drops for Kentucky. So many lights and colors on the screen, finds the Bastion, finds the Wrecking Ball. That is Kentucky's staying power gone. And they C9 off the point, giving the third map to USF, winning this series.
What an insane amount of shapes and colors on the screen at the end there. So many ultimates getting dropped, trying to stay on point, trying to keep that overtime live, but it doesn't work out for West Kentucky. Great plays coming out from both teams, but USF Gold really stunning tonight.
The primary staying power of Kentucky, that Wrecking Ball and Bastion just gonna get disintegrated, focused down by USF, doing a beautiful job of coordinating that, playing very disciplined across all 3 maps and all points, doing a pretty clean sweep of this week 4 or 5, somewhere around there. Week 4, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
For USF, coming in very solidly, playing very well out of both teams, but USF just utilizing it a little bit better.
Absolutely, and USF really locking in on Domina, locking in on these new characters, Mizuki and Jetpack Cat. These are just very strong characters that have been added to the game, but USF was able to really capitalize and just put that into their meta and just keep working with it throughout these games.
Utilizing all the new characters, giving us an amazing show to sit down and watching. And thank you all for joining to share that experience with us. So I'm Insomnia.
I'm Kawari.
And we will see you next week. Go Bulls.